All right, everyone, and we are live. Welcome to this Saturday live stream show. Thank you so much for joining me. And I am wanting to make sure that before we get started, as usual, can you guys hear me with the microphone? Just let me know down in the comments below. I do have a new microphone today, and I'm testing out some new audio stuff, so I want to make sure everything sounds good before we get started, not echoey like that. So let me know. We'll get started by first saying hi to a lot of people. First of all, Dalton is here. Good morning, good morning, Mr. Dalton. I have your question loaded up, ready to roll, so we'll see that. Mike Newland's in the house. Good afternoon. I think you're on the East Coast or maybe the Central Time Zone, so I'm happy for you to join me. Mike is here. Good morning, Stan. I'm excited to be here for my first live experience, which is excellent. Thank you for joining me here on the Saturday morning here in Southern California. But this will hopefully be a very good experience for you, and we get a lot of great questions, a lot of great things to cover, topics to cover on the live stream as well today. Mr. Lucky Day is here. My question is the fee for the Smartly Cards investment account. Is there any way to remove it? So I think what you're referring to is the fee on the self-directed brokerage account, which I believe is about $50 if you have less than $100,000 in assets, and that would be the requirement. If you have more than $100,000, you should be able to get rid of that fee. Now, that fee is charged at the end of the 12 months as it stands now. We'll definitely have some conversation about that moving forward because of the changes in the U.S. Bank Smartly Cards future, so we'll have to talk about that for sure. But that's how you would, at this point, get rid of that self-investment fee. There are also those fees for trades, although you do get 100 free trades with the self-directed account. And so because if you use this account as a sort of a buy and hold account, that generally speaking is enough free trades throughout the whole year to be okay. But those are the two fees you typically see for the self-directed brokerage to get that 100K of assets in. My boy, Matt Frost, big fan of the channel, is here. Morning all, let's get some knowledge, loud and clear. Absolutely, thank you so much for letting me know. DL says sounds crisp. Seabass is here. Good morning, Mr. Seabass. Loud and clear as well. Ian M, thank you so much for being here too. Sounds great. And Lucky Day says, I feel like I'm in a Zoom meeting. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully it's more of just, a conversation between all of us. It's not like a bunch of different little boxes of individual people. It's just me. But hopefully we'll get to the presentation soon, and then it'll be more like a presentation. But that would be, one of the ways that we can kind of get our learning on for this morning. Juan Garcia is in the house, a channel member. Good afternoon, Stan. Thank you, Juan. I appreciate you being here, and thank you so much for stopping by. My boy Philmo is in the house. Philmo, I saw that you have a live stream at 1 o'clock Pacific today with Sledge and Joe Barreto. I'm very excited to watch that as well. So definitely, if you're free afterwards at this live stream, check out that one as well to see Philmo's debut on the big screen. Catch361 is here. I got your question, Catch. Thank you for dropping that down. Can hear you loud and clear. Outstanding. Kevin Gonzalez is here. Hello, Stan. Love the content. Thank you so much, sir. I'm glad that you are here joining us today. My boy Shad Kerr is here. Good morning, Stan. Good to see you, and thank you for being. I think you are my longest standing channel member. I think you're over 2 years at this point. So I appreciate you and your constant support of me and the content that I create. QC Man's in the house. Good to see you, QC Man. Stanley the Manly. I appreciate you being here. And John R is in the house with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much, John. I really, really appreciate you. Stan, smash the like button if you haven't yet. Yeah, I appreciate that reminder. I'll drop this guy here. Please hit the like button if you're getting value. We haven't really dropped any value yet, but trust me, we will get to that value very, very shortly. It's only 1 minute past 10, so we got another hour and 59 minutes at least of value. So definitely check that out and hit that like button if you can. Okay, and then I lost my train of thought. Okay, Jay Chains, thinking about getting the Citi Custom Cash and possibly the Strata Premier, but concerned about their customer service. Is it really that bad? I have never interacted with Citi customer service, and so I don't have any personal experience. I think across the board, most customer services are kind of dropping their standards, and so I don't know the answer to that specifically, but I will say that both those cards you put out, the Strata Premier and the Custom Cash are great cards for a core credit card setup. So I would go for it, regardless of the customer service. You can always cancel the card after the first year if you wanted to. And the Custom Cash is always a great card anyways, and it's no annual fees, so there's really no reason not to have it. Power of Pickle says, regarding the U.S. Bank Smartly cards, well, not Smartly, the U.S. Bank's investment account, conflicting info about whether it's 100K versus 250K. Yes, so on the terms and conditions on the website, it says 250K, but multiple calls, at least a few months ago, to customer service had confirmed that it is actually 100K. Again, that fee is charged at the end of the 12 months, so none of us will really know, including myself, what that fee is really for in terms of like, is it 100K or 250K, to be completely honest, but we'll have to see what happens at the end, and they're going to change it probably soon anyways, so there's a lot of flux going on in US Bank, and it's hard to keep up sometimes, but yes, that's why we keep saying 100K and not 250K. DL says, hey Stan, my Freedom Rise got automatically upgraded to the Freedom Unlimited. Now it doesn't let me apply. What should I do? That's a good question. For me, I would say if I were you, you probably had the Freedom Rise for hopefully 12 months, and then they automatically product change you to the limited. You can product change that unlimited probably to a Chase Freedom card, also known as the OG Freedom card. And when you do that, what you do is you call into customer service and you ask for the Chase, this is like in quotes, Chase Freedom card with ultimate rewards. So Chase Freedom card with ultimate rewards, and they should give you the Chase Freedom card, and that would make that card a different card. And then if you wanted to apply for it again, you could. I think that's how that process would work. Give it a shot, see if it'll help you. That may be something to think about. Oh my God, Big Luke gifted 10 Stan the Credit Frog memberships. Thank you so much, Luke. I appreciate that, and thank you so much, sir, for being here. You're actually in one of my first slides here in the presentation, but I really appreciate that. So while we're on the topic of memberships, I do want to point out that I have started something new for memberships. I am starting to roll out weekly videos called Walk with Stan the Credit Frog. I basically just take a camera and I walk outside somewhere and just talk about credit card content or whatever I'm talking about, whatever's on my mind that day. And it's just one of those fun things to just, get to know me better, to kind of hear more about credit cards on a more personal level. There's no editing, no cuts, nothing fancy. It's literally just me talking, and I got to get more exercise in because I'm getting fat, so I have to, get my steps in. And so I think this is a good way for me to kind of walk and talk and kind of do more exercise while doing this YouTube thing. And so that's another thing for the channel memberships. Again, you can join it down below if you're on a computer, just click the join button. Only one membership style, just $2.99. It's Tadpole, so the smallest little frog. And then we'll kind of, move it from there. But thank you so much, Luke. I appreciate that. And thanks for being here. And I see your little emoji here. I appreciate that so much. Oh, and QC Man is a new member. Awesome. Ian's a new member. Awesome. Two great friends of the channel, and so I'm really happy that you guys got some. That's great. Okay. Let me get back to where I started from. Lucky Day says, if you were to guess, is the U.S. Bank Eligible Reserve claim back or no? If it is, when would you think they'd allow new applicants? I don't think it's coming back anytime soon, although I would say that I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Smartly because there's a whole shift going on here, and so that may include a new type of card that would come out. We'll see if that's good or not, but I don't expect the U.S. Bank Eligible to come back in any way like it was in its previous form. I think it's just more of a grandfathered card now and just going to exist the way it is for the rest of time, basically. Kirby G's here. Love a Stan stream on Saturdays. I appreciate you, Kirby. I appreciate your questions as well. So thank you so much for being here. Mr. Sun Kim is here. How is the US bar good for pay yourself back messaging feature? Does this offer 4.5% back? Yes, to sum it up very quickly, you get 3x mobile wallet purchases if you activate real-time rewards in 4 different categories: airline, lodging, car rental, and other travel. Then you'll get a text message for those types of purchases that will let you redeem at a 1.5x or 50% increase multiplier, effectively boosting that multiplier to 4.5%. So that's exactly what you would see for that. Francis Yoon here, greetings and salutations. That's awesome. Good to see you, my friend. QC Man says, if U.S. Bank sticks to their grandfathering ways, you should be okay with both your Smartly at current rates and your U.S. bar. but not sure about that going forward. So we're going to kind of go over that too. There's a question about that specific. I believe it was. I want to say it was Ketch that asked the question, but I'm going to get to that about my setup and how that's going to change depending on how things go. So that'll be interesting to see because I'm primarily U.S. Bank and Bank of America with that core credit card setup. Juan Garcia says, Phil mode T minus 3 hours so the world meets Phil. By the way, I met Phil at the New Orleans Creative Meetup. He's an awesome guy. I met him and his wife, and he's just really knowledgeable and just a friendly dude. And so definitely show him some love at the next live stream coming up in a couple hours here. Sheena says, do you think I could get 2 of the elevated Amex cards with the elevated offers before they go away? There's a lot of those going on, so I'm not sure which one you're referring to. Or will they not approve people back-to-back like that? Would the honors and surpass with a free night? Yeah, I think if you wanted to try to do that, I don't think it'd be a problem. Just keep in mind the 1 in 5 and 2 in 90 rule. That's the big thing with applying to Amex cards back-to-back. So just apply for them at least a week apart, and then make sure within the past 90 days you haven't had any Amex credit card applications that were approved as well. Mike from LA says, morning Stan, let's do this. Love your thumbnail, by the way. LAX. Yeah, that airport's a kind of a hot mess, but I do like that airport. If you can get out of that death loop, it's fine. But hopefully they'll fix that up soon to soon, but at least before the Olympics in 2028. Shad Curse is glad to contribute. Perfect. I'm glad to hear that. I really, really appreciate all that support. All right. David Preto's here. What's up, Sam the Man? What's up, David? Good to see you. And then Mike says, W's in the chat for Luke. Absolutely. Love it. Ronako says, hello. Hello, Ronako. All right. So Luke says, celebrate the Irish Winter Day in the 6th National Tournament with some new members. Yes. Thank you, Luke, for those new members. I appreciate that so much, and that's very, very exciting, especially when I'm starting to roll out these new videos and doing those members-only videos. That's going to be a great way to kind of see if that new membership is good for them. All right. Sun Kim says, I have the U.S. Bank Smartly card at 4% with no transfer option. Not as good as the Amex Blue Business Plus. Better with 2x with transfer partner potentially. More than 4x. So the question is, do you get U.S. Bank Smartly cash back for 4% or Blue Business Plus for 2x, which you could get more value with the membership rewards points? And that's going to depend on your personal situation, right? When we talk about cash back, it's like you use the card, you get cash back. You may have to click a button to redeem stuff. That's it, right? If you have the Blue Business Plus and MR points, you have to take those MR points and then figure out how to get 270 point or higher. And that can be sometimes easy, sometimes hard. It's not like Chase where you have Hyatt to get the auto redemption, which is pretty easy. You have to think about it, do the work, as Luke would say, and actually figure out the good redemption for yourself. Not terribly complicated, but not terribly easy either. And so if you put in the work, it could be worth it. It also depends if you travel internationally or not. That's going to be a big thing too. If you're not, just go ahead and do cashback. It's super easy and not that big of a deal. All right. Mr. Yuri's here. Hello, good morning, Yuri. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Mike from LA says, has there ever been an instance where the U.S. Bank or where U.S. Bank didn't grandfather existing card members after discontinuation or changes to a card? I don't know the answer to that, but you know who would know the answer to that is probably Yuri. Yuri, do you know about that actually? Because you've kind of been in this game for much longer than I have, and you probably know if this question is true or not, if you have any U.S. Bank cards that have actually not been grandfathered as an existing card. Yuri G says he thinks the U.S. bar is coming back. We'll have to see about that, so we'll keep a close eye. Vincent Pasquale says B of A would probably be breathing a sigh of relief if Smartly goes away. I believe that. I love how Bank of America is steady Eddie. It's been like there for a long time. It like knows who it is. It like knows its identity. It doesn't have to change itself. It knows the customer they serve, and that's why I'm still a loyal fan of all of their cards. But U.S. Bank tried something. Sometimes when you are given something that's too nice, people take advantage of it, and then the nice thing goes away. But again, it's part of the game. It's not no one's fault or anything. It's just that's the nature of us as credit card enthusiasts, is trying to maximize, and push things to the limit. And if you have something that's unlimited, it's gonna be a problem. So I think there are caps coming. Jay Chase says, "Thanks, Dan. You are the GOAT." Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Vernon Gomez in the house. Thank you for being here, sir. If they nerf smartly, I'm dropping everything but the US bar with them. I'll ACATS out the money to Schwab and have them refund the fee. Yeah, I agree. If they do something that is, if they nerf it like super hard or they make it the cap too low, that's not reasonable. Like I'm ACATS out as well. I'm out. I'm out. There's no reason to stay if they're gonna break the Smartly card. But we'll see. I'm not like super confident they're going to do something super drastic. I think they're just reevaluating. And so I'm in the meantime, I'm going to keep my current strategy. I already have the card. And if you have the card too, if anyone who's here has a card already, just keep the card and we'll kind of see how things progress. And then once they announce what is changing, because it will be changing, that's kind of when we have to make our moves. But right now, we're just kind of holding steady, see where we're at. If you have any good 4% categories or any kind of big purchases you want to put on the Smartly card, now would be the probably good time to do so before they cap it out. I have no idea what your name says, but it ends in 64. I have been holding off on any new applications because of the rumored new City card, which I'm hoping will have many features of City Prestige. Any speculation as to when it could launch? I don't have any idea. I would hope that it'd be this year, but your guess, my friend, is as good as mine. James Wright says, between Citi and Amex card setup, what do you like best and why? I would say, well, okay, so you have to qualify that first because I don't know what best means. I'm going to assume you mean best for a core credit card setup. And if that's the question, then I would definitely say the Citi setup because it covers all the major categories like restaurants, groceries, gas, and you have that 5% custom cash option to choose whatever you want to do with that too. So that's super cool. Amex card setups, they don't really have great ones with lower annual fees. They just have the Amex trifecta, which is it can be super good for the right person, but you have to put a big buy-in first. I think it's for the platinum and the gold, that's $1,020 in annual fees to start, and you got to whittle that away with monthly and quarterly and semi-annual statement credits, and that's just like not my game. But for the right person, that could be a good strategy too. I would definitely recommend Citi over Amex for most people. Power Pickle says, can you still apply for a credit limit increase with a grandfathered card? Yes, I believe you can, although I'm not entirely sure, but I don't see any reason why you should not be able to. Okay. And so, we have Jesus Prices, stand urban to Puerto Rico. I will not, but I will be there actually for the creator meetup in November that my good buddy and hermano Cesar Joel is putting out. And I know that a lot of us creators are going down there, so I will be to Puerto Rico at that time in November. Yuri G says Wells Fargo Signify Cash is one of the cards that apparently may not be grandfathered in. I'm not sure what that was referring to, but okay. Filmo's in the house and says $5 super chat. Wow, thank you so much, Filmo. That is super, super cool. Thank you so much. We'll watch the replay. Gotta go do some crunches and Luke's getting here on screen. Thanks to Luke for the membership and keep dropping the knowledge. Thank you so much, Filmo, for the super chat. And we have a new member in the house, Matt Frost. Thank you so much for joining the membership. Yes, I'm looking forward to kind of getting to know you better as well and making sure that you get those members-only videos too. All right. So Shai Kerr says, if the Smartly goes away, I'm glad I took your advice, Stan, and didn't sever my relationship with Bank of America. Correct. Yeah, I mean, it was so new. I think it was not a good idea to pick one or the other. It was just try U.S. Bank together and then see how it plays out. And we're seeing how it plays out now. And so I'm glad that we're on the same page on that. All right. So there's some more questions here. I think I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation because we do have a lot of slides to go over. I'm going to add this over here first. So we do have a live question answer. We have a lot of great questions, and I do want to cover two specific topics today as well. The questions are from the community post, and then the topics are also the U.S. Bank Smartly card changes as well as the Southwest changes that came up this week as well, which does affect me in a big way as a A-list preferred Southwest flyer. So the first question comes from Asmondo4. Hi, Stan. Uncle Luke released a recent video about the Bank of America Flying Blue MasterCard. Do we know if this card has a downgrade path to the customized cash rewards card? And so those are both Bank of America cards. Clearly one is a co-branded and one is a base card. And there's been multiple data points about this type of transition. But before we talk about that, I do want to get your opinion on it first because maybe you've heard about it. So there's a couple of polls on this particular live stream. And so if you go to menti.com, you can actually enter the 8-digit code or scan the QR code, and then you can go ahead and proceed in the polling. So I apologize. I actually forgot to, I can edit it right now really quickly. I forgot to edit my little banners to have the code on it. So I'm going to put that in right now and save that, put that on the bottom, and then I'm going to move it to the actual question. I guess I have to remove it first. Okay, that's unfortunate. Okay, so we can go ahead and use that code. And the question is, can you downgrade the Air France KLM card to a CCR Bank of America card? And so I'm also going to put my code in as well. So let me just do that real fast so I can join in. You can also click the like button both on the live stream and also on the bottom to let us know that you're here. And so when I move that polling in 3, 2, 1 here, can you do this? Can you downgrade the Air France KLM to a CCR? Yes or no? What's the answer to that question? Again, to join this polling, go to menti.com and use that 8-digit code to join in, and we can see kind of what people say about product changing this card, the Air France KLM, to the customized cash rewards card. Right now, it looks pretty even, with a little focus here being on no, that you can't actually do that. And I do want to reiterate that there have been data points for both yes and no. And so it's not entirely clear, and personally, I've never done this. I'd also like to know if any of you guys have actually done this. So if you have, go into the chat and let me know. And that will be it. So it looks like for the most part, people say, no, you cannot do this. And for those who voted no, did you actually do this or not? Because that would be kind of the next step for that question. So we're going to kind of hold it there. So with majority, it's 10-3. So 10 saying no, 3 being yes. Yuri said, one time Bank of America offered me to downgrade an Alaska card to travel rewards, but that was a long time ago. Okay. So we're going to take this out here. We'll add this to the stage. Okay. I'll take this banner off. So basically, this is the video that the question was referencing, was Uncle Luke's video where he applied for 2 cards in one day. But the one that we're focusing on is the Air France KLM card. And he said that he got it because there's an elevated offer now that he didn't even know about until someone told him about it, which is pretty cool. You get, I think it's like Flying Blue Silver status because you get 40 XP after you make the welcome offer, and you also get 60 XP upon approval. You also get 70,000 bonus miles, which is elevated from the 50,000 you typically get. So it's a good offer. And so he got the card. But the question is now, if you get this card, can you get another CCR, right? And I think the jury is still out. There have been data points that you can actually you can't actually do this. You can product change to the travel rewards, unlimited cash, or the customized cash. You can do any of those 3. But again, this is just data points from a year ago. It's not like that old. These data points are pretty recent. They're from things like Doctor of Credit. They're things from Reddit, people that have left their opinions and their personal data points. I personally have never done this, but I've seen that it has been done, or it's been reported it has been done. So certainly an option. I think it's worth asking if you have this card. So definitely, if you have this card, Air France Flying Blue, you decide to get the welcome offer like Uncle Luke did, definitely think about it. And maybe, Luke, if you're listening still, if you want to try this out at the end of the first year, just let us know what your experience is, because I'd love to see you with a customized cash rewards card and start with the Bank of America Preferred Rewards program, because maybe, it'll get you a little more cashback options, because I know you love getting tons of new cards. Also, before we get to our next question, Dong Kim's in the house. Good to see you, Mr. Kim. Thank you so much for stopping by. The next question, Luke is even here. I think I would rather keep the annual fee card. Yeah, that's very typical of Luke. But, he did say he may keep it the second time around. He does do a lot of international travel, and so this may be worth it for him. But if he wants to not have that annual fee, I think it's $89, then this is a way to save on that. Okay, the next question comes from my boy, Matt Frost. Oh, look at this. He's here. Helpful. Thanks, Stan. Oh, you're welcome. So Matt Frost, left me a question, and he said, 2 live streams in 2 weekends, you are putting in some overtime, and that is for sure. Quick question. Any thoughts on the Charles Schwab Amex Platinum and combining it with the Amex Gold to get a 4.4x cashback equivalent set up for groceries and dining? I saw Dave Hansen talk about using the setup and assuming you can offset the fees through normal credit cards usage. Is this the simplest and most effective cashback setup for high spending, which is more than 15K combined? I would assume that's on the food purchases, on dining and groceries. Yeah, okay. Is there a better option now that the U.S. Bank Alto Reserve is not on the table? And so that's a good question. I would say if any of you have a better idea of a setup that would work better than this, definitely drop it down in the comments so we all know about it. I do have some strong opinions about this setup and Amex in general. But to start, let's kind of figure out what I would think about for Amex for cashback. So generally speaking, I wouldn't recommend using Amex for cashback. First of all, their MR points are very valuable for other things like international first and business class travel. When you sign up for Amex, that should be the reason why you're signing up for Amex. Now, there are certain exceptions, right? So if you feel like you just want the welcome offers and you don't have any plans for travel, the MR points are like they're worthless unless you use them. So if you need to use them, then use them for cashback if you have to. But I would say that if you plan on taking a trip in the next 1 to 3 years internationally and you want to do it in first and business class, just saving those points may be just worth it for that reason. There are also a lot of different cashback options for other banks too, and so I would use those banks instead as opposed to American Express for cashback. I also, you mentioned in the question that is this the simplest cashback option for high spenders? And I would just say that Amex is not an issue I would consider to be simple. As we all know, they're raising annual fees, putting more statement credits on the cards, they're giving you more benefits, but you have to do more work to make it worth it for you because those annual fees they're increasing so much. And so if we look at that, we can see that the Platinum Schwab and Gold combo is the $695 annual fee for the Schwab Platinum, $325 for the Gold. You get the 1.1 redemption for the cashback on Schwab, and you get the 4X on the supermarkets and dining. I think supermarkets, the cap is $25K per year, and the cap on dining is now $50K per year. So big caps, probably not going to be an issue, but still there. The issue with this is that you buy in at $1,020. So you're going to buy in first with these things. Not wrong, right? So if you get a welcome offer on both these cards, it's fine because if they're elevated, they're good and you get a lot of MR points out of it. I would say, though, it's complicated because now you have the family language, so you have to get the green first, or you should get the green first because you don't want to not get that one. So there's that. So you buy in at $1,020. Like Yuri is saying, the Citi Custom Cash he thinks is better than the Amex Gold. I don't know if better is the right word, but I think it's definitely more usable for more people. And so what I would say is if you compare and contrast these cards, that's where you kind of figure out where the problem becomes. So if you get both those cards for 4.4% equivalent cash back, assuming you don't, I know your question did mention if you can use the credits, and I'll address that later on, but assuming you don't use the credits and you're buying it at $1,020, how long does it take to break even just from that $1,020, right? So basically you're taking that $1,020 annual fee, dividing it by 4.4%, you'd have to spend $23,000 ish dollars, or about $1,900 per month to break even from that cashback. That's multiplier only, by the way. And so if you do that, that's not unreasonable for a high spender, but it's also kind of a lot. And so that's just cash versus American Express, though, right? That's if you have just cash. But we all know that there are more credit cards on the market than just the American Express cards. There are other cards like the Capital One Saver One that gives you 3x at groceries and 3x at dining. And so they do that with no annual fee. So because of that, that differential is now 3x versus 4.4x or 4.4%. So now the question becomes, if you compare and contrast the credit card with the Amex Gold combo setup you mentioned, you have a 1.4% bonus on the multiplier. And so to get that 1,020 cash back comparatively to Capital One, and of course there's certain things that we have to think about, like Capital One is not the best for 1 cent per point cash back, but there's ways to do it that are not like that hard to do. If you do the math, you actually have to spend $72,800 to get that 1,020 back, or about $6,000 per month in food spending. So that's like a very extreme example. That's not necessarily to say that there's a lot more variables in play, but I'm just focusing on multipliers so you know that there are other alternatives that could be better, even for higher spenders. Sometimes when you think about cashback, the no annual fee option is actually the better way to go. And so the one things I want to say about that analysis is that, of course, we don't take advantage or don't take into account those welcome offer values. So, of course, if you do this, if you have a green card already and then you get a gold and a Schwab Platinum, knowing that you can't get a vanilla Platinum offer, by the way, because you can't do that either, because there's family language both for green, gold, platinum, and platinum Schwab, platinum Morgan Stanley, and platinum regular. If you had, assuming you got all the things you wanted to get, and then you got a gold offer and a platinum offer, the welcome offers are high enough that it still would make sense. So I think if you want to do that for a year, that would be totally fine, and you'd get a lot of value from that setup. But after that first year, you're going to look at those numbers that I just showed you, and that's where you're going to be at. And if you don't make value of those statement credits. And the reason why I didn't put the statement credits as an analysis is because everyone values those statement credits differently, because some people actually use them, some people go out of their way to use them, and then also lounge access does factor into that equation too. So for example, someone like myself, I use lounges maybe 3 to 4 times a month. That's going to be a much different valuation than someone who uses it 3 to 4 times a year. And so I think having that in mind, it's really hard to quantify how much of that annual fee is being recouped by doing things like statement credits or lounge access. So I say all of that to say that if you want to get a good cashback setup, I really do recommend no annual fee cards for this. And we'll see that in my setup as we move forward. 5% is the best that you can, but even if the Capital and Saver one, those are like great cards that are no annual fee, no foreign transaction fees too. And so there's a lot of options with that. So that's what I would say would be what I would answer that question. I mean, I would say, just as a blunt recommendation, if you have the cards that are the family language that you already have available and you want to get the gold and the Schwab Platinum, just run that for a year. And after that, you may want to just adjust FIRE based on what you have in your core setup at that point. Okay, so I think we are done with that one. I'm going to move back to my face real fast just so I can answer some of these comments. Let's see, where are we here? Yuri says PayPal cashback. Let's see there. Yeah. What Gedge says, ignoring sign up bonuses, best cards to use to pay taxes and smartly. PayPal cashback. That's certainly an option. Rewash Canal says, have the Bank of America travel rewards as my first travel card 7+ years ago. Thinking about canceling it to reduce number of cards. Any direct impact canceling. Have other 9 cards or other cards with 9+ history. I think the answer is no. I would say that if you have that card, there's 2 things. There's the credit utilization, and there's going to be the average age of accounts that affects your credit score. Right. So the average of accounts, people say that's a problem, but the issue with that is that actually, because if you have this card as a positive card, like there's no problems on it, like there's you paid it off on full each month and that kind of jazz, it stays in a report for 10 years. So it's not going to matter for 10 years. So that's fine. The bigger thing is utilization. So if that card has like 50,000 credit limit on it, and then you have 100,000 total, like that's going to affect things a lot. But if it's like I have a 2,000 limit and I have a 200,000 credit limit total, then that's going to not matter at all. So it depends on kind of those specific indicators and those specific details too. Knight says, it's Platinum Honors B of A worth parking 100K with them? I would always say yes. If you, first of all, have good financial habits, you do kind of retirement accounts in the proper order, and you have extra money to put in a self-directed account. Or you can take an IRA from an existing account and put it to Bank of America that's, kind of passive. Then I think that would be a good thing to do. I would never put $100,000 into a savings account at Bank of America or checking account. That'd be just stupid. But if you can invest that money in a very not stable, but in an investment that you're comfortable with, I would just say that that's what I would do. And the bonuses are great because that 5.25 customized cash reward card is just, it's money. It is a great card. You can have a bunch of them too. So there's a lot of options with Bank of America and Platinum Honors. Texas Dogs in the house. Good afternoon. Missed the first 30 minutes. Had to grocery shop. No problem. I appreciate you stopping by. Matt Frost says, great answer as always, and thanks to Yuri for the input. Love the City Custom Cash. I'm just thinking in this case that $500 cap only covers a third of the monthly spend at most. Great points all around. Okay, yeah, I love the City Custom Cash. I actually am more bigger fan now of the PayPal Debit MasterCard, which has a $1,000 monthly cap on a debit card. So I definitely recommend looking at that. And what's cool about that one is that you just open your PayPal app, and then you just press get card and you have a PayPal debit card. It's so easy. And then you can, again, get into the whole thing or choosing your 5% category every month and getting those points back, which, by the way, you get them back right away. You can just redeem them right after your purchase closes on the card. And so that's just a really nice thing too. So I really like that card. Okay, so let's see, here we go. Where am I here? There's a lot of questions. URG says for grocery shopping, I usually buy Visa gift cards, MasterCard gift cards at Staples, and then within cash and use them. It's a very common thing that people do. Black the Engineer says, hello, Stan. Recently got the Amex or Amazon business card after getting the Blue Business Plus last week. Starting to love Amex and might pursue them as they're giving me higher limits than other banks, but as I'm still building. Yeah, I mean, they are actually very lenient with credit card applications. They are very generous with limits too. I would just say that their cashback portfolio is not as strong as the other banks. They mainly focus on higher annual fee cards. But the business, Amazon business card, the business or Business Prime card are two very good options. So I'm glad that you're starting your journey into American Express. Okay. Ian M says, if you are using Lounge 3 or 4 times a month, have you thought about chasing top tier airline status so you have One World Emerald or the equivalent of other alliances, or do you? See, Ian, I would totally do that, but the problem with my situation is that Southwest has a complete monopoly on the route I take, and so there's no other options. If there was any other option, I would take them. And by option, I mean there are similar options, but the problem is Southwest has like 4 nonstop flights, and then the other option has like 1 like every Thursday. So I can't go to those other airlines to make that happen. And so if they did that, I would totally chase airline status. I am A-list preferred on Southwest because I fly so much, and so that does help a little bit, but I'd rather, get something else on a different legacy carrier because I feel like the benefits would be better in those situations. Matt Frost also comes back and says, also just to confirm, getting the vanilla platinum welcome offer locks you out of the Schwab platinum welcome offer. The answer is yes. On both of those welcome offer terms, they both mention each other, so you can only choose one or the other. I would definitely choose a vanilla platinum if you can, because there are oftentimes those incognito window browsers welcome offers that are higher than the Schwab platinum, which I believe is basically like a stable one that you always get no matter what. Cesar Joe Hell's in the house. Mia Hermano Stan, Cesar, good to see you. Glad to see you here, and welcome to the live stream. Okay. Right. Andy Poe's in the house. Happy weekend. Thanks for dropping knowledge. Good to see you, Andy. And thank you for, again, stopping by. Okay, I'm going to keep going on the presentation here, so let me just do that. I'm going to go back here, add this to stage, and we'll go on to our first main topic of the morning, which is going to be the U.S. Bank Smartly card. I want to say changes, but the refresh, because it's going to come. So basically this came out because, well, first of all, we had 2 questions about that. The first, Sleepy Rod said, you called on the U.S. bar getting discontinued. Have you followed these rumors that the Smartly card may be going away? And then Josh said, thoughts on the direction of U.S. Bank Smartly, the very recent news regarding the Smartly card and checking account isn't looking good for the welcome offer. All right. So in terms of this new news or this new rumor, basically it was started out by this guy named Belly88. And he basically said that the U.S. Bank rep told him that Smartly card is no longer available. Basically what this came down to is that there's no more ability to apply for the Smartly card in branch. You can do so online. I know Doug Ross did a live stream this morning, which I was listening to, by the way, and he did a really fantastic job outlining like the 7 things he thought was going to happen in the future for U.S. Bank Smartly. So definitely check out his live stream before if you want some information on that. But essentially, he did a call to U.S. Bank, and they said that you can't product change, for him, it was the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve to the Smartly card. But I think that was closed off to a lot of people earlier this month, and now we have this situation happening. The issue with that is that we knew all this was coming, right? We had that email that came out last month about people using this card for business spend, or at least higher spending, as like a warning. And so I think, like we all know, U.S. Bank is using this card as a loss leader to get more assets. The question is, are they going to completely destroy the card, like make it unavailable? Are they going to make some changes to cap it? Are they going to do things to make it harder for you to achieve the 4%? There's a lot of questions going on about what's going to happen with that. And so I definitely want to know, more information about that. I personally don't have no other insider knowledge other than confirming that you can no longer apply for this card in branch anymore. And also it just seems like you can't product change to it either, which is unfortunate. The Zombie Slayer says, I tried to PC my connect to the Smartly a few days ago, and they said it wasn't available, but the rep did say to try again in the future. And so that's a very general way to say that they don't know when you can do that again. There's been more developments, obviously, with these rumors as they come up. And so one of them is that this new Reddit post came out yesterday saying that it was, quote, debunked. So the question was, are they going to discontinue the card or are they going to revamp the card to be something that's different? And so it sounds like they're going to take away the card completely for a while in terms of applications, probably next month for about 3 to 4 weeks or so. And then they will go ahead and announce changes to the card or new revamps to it. So that is kind of what this person said, Careless Trash 7702, which is an interesting name. But it's good that we have some more data points about what's happening. My boy Matt Clausen is also in the house, by the way, who did a very excellent video about his thoughts about the US Bank Smartly card and the rumors as well. Matt Klaus is like my rumors guy. I love looking to his videos and seeing what he has to say about, future releases, rumors, things like that. So definitely check him out. Yeah, it's just one of those things that I just don't know what is going to happen with the card and how that's going to affect what I'm doing, which is the next question, by the way. Kirby G actually says, I product changed my Cash Plus to the Smartly. Just got the card in the mail. I guess I won't transfer any money over to get the 3% until we know more. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would just say I would wait on the Smartly card just to see how it shakes up. It's really annoying to open an investment account and then putting money in and then ACATSing it out or ACATSing it in and all this stuff. It's just a whole thing. And so it's worth it if it's a stable situation, but if it's not stable, just let it go and just see how it shakes out first. And then you can, again, adjust how you're going to proceed after that. So there's that. I do want to hear, though, about what you guys want to hear about it, though. What do you guys think is going to happen? So I'm going to go ahead and move that poll over. And the question for this one actually is going to be, what do you think will happen to the US Bank Smartly card? I think it's going to foster a lot of different opinions about what's going on. So again, go to the code here, menti.com or the website. I'll put the banner up here under that 8-digit code if you haven't already. If you have, you probably should be able to see the question, which is going to be here. And go ahead and hit the like button and let me know that you're there. And so again, the question for you guys is, what do you think will happen to the US Bank Smartly card? And so we'll start the voting now in 3, 2, 1, and here we go. So these are the 4 options that I chose. There's a cap on 4%. There's asset limitations, meaning that they'll make the brokerage more annoying to get value from. They're just going to straight up close it to new applicants altogether, and it's a done deal. Or it's going to be some combination of all 3. I know that's not the best multiple choice way to do it. I really hate those all the above situations because usually the answer is all of the above. But it's something that I think is interesting to kind of figure out. But it looks like the way it's shaping out for a lot of you guys is that the cap on the 4% is the most likely change that you think is going to happen, which I would agree with. I think that's something that has been part of their problem. I think they do want to offer a card that is a game changer in the industry, which, by the way, the Smartly card, as it stands, is a game changer card in the industry because it is 4% unlimited for any purchase. And that's an unheard of situation. We all knew it was going to last. I thought it lasts more than 12 months at the very least, but apparently it's not. And so we're going to have to see what happens there. Mike from LA says, I recall you were the one who broke the news. Is that same guy maybe able to give us some sort of update? I've been in contact with him, and there's no updates so far, so there's that. Let's see. The Zombie Slayer says probably some sort of asset raise, like $500K for 4% back or a cap. $500K would be so limiting. That would just be in the realm of I wouldn't even bother with the card anymore because, you'd have to really put a lot of money in. That's a lot. It's 100K is already a lot. So 500K is that's way, way too much. Matt Clausen says it doesn't help that US Bank takes a Baskin Robbins approach to reward structures and reward pools. Yeah, that's for sure. Calder S says, I think they'll change their tier percentage, 2.5, 3, 3.5. That wouldn't be terrible either. I think that if they kept it at 3%, I'd still be happy with what was going on. If they nerf it down to 2.5%, that's kind of where I'd be I don't know, because then the premium rewards card on the Bank America situation would be better. Kevin Wynn says big F. I think it's Also says big fail to US Bank with Smartly. Ronako says, I remember seeing a screenshot somewhere. The new updated relationship tiers info is on April 15th. Okay, we'll see that. They're going to wait until tax day to figure that out, which is fine. Good to know. Francisco Vigil says, I feel like it's easy enough for them to figure out their net interest income for the incoming assets and then set a cap on the 4% that makes the situation profitable. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to think about it. They have to figure out how much did they really get from the assets coming in and then see if like that sort of volume has led to profits or not, or any sales of new products. And I would imagine that because we're seeing this right now, the answer is no. And so we'll have to see what's going on now. As someone who has had a US bank account for 15 years, I'm also not happy seeing the Smartly monthly fees go up. $12 a month for checking accounts and can no longer waive by having a credit card. Yeah, that's a really unfortunate error too, unfortunately. So they're just really tacking the fees on, and it's really not giving us a lot of value anymore. So, all right, we're going to end the poll there. So it looks like it's about 12 to 7, 12, a combination of the three, and then 7 is the most popular answer for what's going to happen to US Bank Smartly, which is the cap on the 4%. And the question of the cap is going to be interesting and seeing kind of where we go with that. Real quick here, Josh Ing says, US Bank has been flip-flopping so much recently. Wish they would be more stable because I feel like they're the only other financial institution who is anywhere close to competing with Bank of America. Yeah, they were doing a really good job competing with them with the Smartly card and with their new system. But like I said before, Bank of America is steady Eddie. You know what you're getting when you get with them, and that's okay. Like that's not a problem because they know their cards and they know how their cards work, and we know how their cards work. And so that's why having that as a backup option when the Smartly situation was happening, I think was a really good thing to have if you were already a Preferred Rewards member. Kirby G says, having $1,500 in the account isn't going to make me close the account, but I prefer to use the SoFi high yield savings account and use US Bank as my bills account. We'll just have to keep extra money in there. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of changes with US Bank. We have to figure that out and figure out what the next thing for US Bank will be. Okay, so I'm going to put that back up here, close that off here. Also, by the way, if you're getting liked, just go ahead and drop the like button if you're getting value from this live stream. Still got a lot of good information. We got 182 people in the house today, so appreciate you all spending your Saturday morning or afternoon with me. Still got a ton of more questions to go through. So we also have another section here specifically about the US Bank situation, which may be helpful for a lot of you that have the Smartly card, because as you guys all know, I have the card and use it very prominently in my setup. And so that's where the next question comes from, which is from Nicopoly. So excuse me, I think it was Catch's question, but it's Nicopoly's question. Nicopoly says, Stan, he's challenging me to build my credit card strategy from scratch, and he has 2 challenges, and this is related to the US Bank Smartly situation. What would your core credit card setup be if, 1, US Bank completely discontinued the US Bank Ultra Reserve or forced a product change into another US Bank card like Go, Connect, Cash Plus, etc., and 2, simultaneously nerfed the Smartly Unlimited 4% cashback? As we all know, the Smartly card will not last as it remains today for long. So to figure this out, this is what I had from my last video of my What's My Wallet. I have the US Bank Ultra Reserve, 2 customized cash rewards cards, and the US Bank Smartly card. It's a very powerful core credit card setup. The issue with the question that he's saying is that what if you could never not use the US Bank Ultra Reserve anymore or the Smartly card? How would that affect your setup? Well, it would affect it a great deal, as you can possibly see, because it is the US Bank Ultra Reserve is my main card, and my US Bank Smartly card is my catch-all card. And so if those 2 cards were to disappear, this is what the card setup would look like. And so again, we're going to keep those 2 customized cash rewards cards, and I've become very, very bullish on these PayPal debit MasterCards, and hopefully they last for a while. Again, we mentioned them earlier on in this live stream. 5% cash back on a choice category, which includes restaurants and groceries, up to $1,000 per month. Annoying things, you have to put money into a debit account on your app, so that's kind of annoying. The second thing is you have to choose the category every month, kind of annoying. It doesn't like roll over or anything. But what's really powerful about these cards is the way that the way you can do transactions now that credit cards don't really offer. So for the restaurant card for PayPal, if they have a credit card fee, you don't have to pay that fee anymore because you're using a debit card. And you still get 5% cash back on that purchase, which is amazing, right? And so that's fantastic. So I love that card for that reason. For the 5% PayPal grocery MasterCard, that can be used for groceries, obviously, but it also works at Target, Walmart, and Costco. And there's like really no issues with that. Now, online purchases, I don't think they work that way. But if you go in person to these grocery stores, that is ridiculous, right? So that's going to be basically what I would cover most of my categories with. Now, you can see this setup will not have a main card. And Nicopoly is here saying, thanks for taking my question. I can't stay the whole time, but I'll catch the replay. You are the man. No problem. It'll be on the replay here for you, so don't worry about that. The next thing is the catch-all card. So this is the question. If the Smartly card went away, I would probably default back to the Bank of America catch-all credit card. You know, it's not the best card. There's the Robinhood Gold card, which is 3x cashback, but I'm not on a wait list, and I don't use Robinhood, so it's really not for me. This is going to be a little bit better than that Alliant Credit Union Visa card with 2.5% cashback, up to $10,000 per spend per billing cycle. The thing about this card, though, is if I have currently a Premium Rewards Elite credit card, and so I've heard that if you product change that card down to a no annual fee version, like the Unlimited Cash, the Travel Rewards, or the Customer Cash Rewards card. Travel Rewards we can take out because it already has no foreign transaction fees. If you do one of those two cards, the CCR or the Unlimited Cash, that card becomes that card, but it has a caveat at also having no foreign transaction fees, which I know that card typically does. But as a product change from Premium Rewards or PR Elite down to this card, supposedly that should happen, and you'll know that by looking at the pamphlet they give you, they send you in the mail or something. It'll have no mention of foreign transaction fees, and so that's what I would plan on doing. It's actually what I think I may do, just no matter what, just because I'm kind of done with the Premium Elite card at this point. I'm gonna probably take that card next month, which is when my annual fee comes up, and just downgrade that to the UCR, and then I'll figure out personally if I get FTFs or not. And if it's a big deal, if there's FTFs, I may just PC that back to a TR or a Travel Rewards card or something like that. I just want to have a no foreign transaction fee catch-all card. And that's how I would use my core credit card setup if there was no US bank. Now, here's the thing. Then Nicopoly is smart because he figured that out already. So he had a second follow-up question, and he says, since your answer will likely be to fall back on the Bank of America system heavily, the second challenge is, what would your core credit card setup be in addition to the US bank changes as described previously? So if they decide to get rid of the Platinum Honor system, which is not going to happen, by the way, less likely, obviously, what would I do? So he's saying no US bank, no Bank of America. So basically, if I have no US bank and no Bank of America, I don't have a core credit card set up anymore. So I have to pretty much redesign it from scratch. And so there's going to be that too. And so I have not, by the way. Ian M says, have you ever thought about getting the US Bank leverage card? I actually am not familiar with that card off the top of my head, so I'm just going to look into that. But thank you for the suggestion. Maybe it'll be helpful, maybe it'll not. I have to look into it. But to look at this setup, let's go. Matt Frost is just out here destroying my entire wallet. Yep. Well, that's why it's a challenge, right? Because you have to rethink, what would I do in these situations? Because, if it's not there, there's definitely going to be some changes to what I'm doing. And so if that were the case, this is what that setup would look like. And so you can see it's changed a little bit. I now have 4 specialty cards. I have a main card, and I have a catch-all card. Right, and so we still keep the PayPal cards, by the way. Great cards to have, very easy. I have 2 of them because I have one and my wife has one, and so it works out pretty well. You can't have 2, but if you have a player or 2, it works out pretty well. Obviously, City Custom Cash will be there for the gas purchases. That card, it's a nice card because you have a lot of good options. The only issue is that cap is so low now at $500 per month comparatively to other cards. And so having it around is good, but just choose a category that would fit under that cap. Autograph, love that card. The issue is that I don't have a travel or transit card, and that would be what I would go for that particular purpose. I do most of my online shopping through Amazon, and so this would be just fine to do the 5% Amazon Prime card for me. And then, of course, I would actually dip in my toe into a credit union card and go for the Alliant Visa Signature card for that 2.5% cash back on all purchases. I think you need to have $1,000 in the checking account, and you also have to It's also capped at $10,000 per month, which is like a cap that I'll never really hit. So that should be fine. So if you look at this setup, you can see that it's very cashback heavy. There is that Wells Fargo card that I could use for points. I'm actually moving towards, even like with this hypothetical scenario, I'm moving towards a situation where I'm using all of my spending cards as cashback cards. I don't think that the amount of spending that I do is going to really make a meaningful hit in travel points. The meaningful hit you get is going to be for applying for elevated welcome offers on those travel cards. So what, for example, Uncle Luke is doing is the best way to maximize spending because you're getting welcome offers consistently and you're really getting a lot. But I wouldn't make my core setup that way. I would just make my core setup just cashback cards I can just redeem really quickly for those little plinkers that will, boost my checking account, balance by just a little bit. So that's kind of how I've kind of evolved my used to be a hybrid core credit card setup is now just a cashback equivalent credit card setup. And now it's become more of a hybrid portfolio as opposed to a hybrid setup for the core setup. And that's personally for me what I think. Now, would I earn more points if I had point earning cards? Yes, but I'd rather just focus on elevated welcome offers and just do it that way to get the points that I need that way. So that is what I would say for that question. So hope to answer it, Nicopoly, for you. I'm just going to scan back here, anything that I missed. Okay, there's that. Okay, so we're going to keep going here. One more thing, too, is kind of on that same line. So there's a welcome offer card, which are helpful, but there's also cards like the Hilton Honor Surpass, which has those benefits where if you spend a certain amount of money on a card, you can get a benefit. So this one, for example, you get $15,000 in a calendar year. You get a free night award from Hilton, which I think is worth it in some situations. So I think that if you're just not having a welcome offer or you want to get FNC, like this is one way to kind of do that at the same time alongside with your core credit card setup. So again, I want to add this Surpass card eventually to my setup as well, just so I have that option. So I would basically use the Surpass card at the end of the year, get that 15K out of the way, and then just revert back to the core credit card setup afterwards. But there are a lot of cards like this. Like the Surpass card is one. You've got like I think it's the World of Hyatt card has one of those situations going on. You have the IHG card that has not 15K, I think it's like 40K for like a Diamond Elite or something. That's kind of too much, but that's like another option. So there's that. There was one thing I wanted to mention before I kind of continue. I'll kind of put this back to my face here. QC Man a little while ago asked, Stan, when was the last time you walked into an exam room and your patient said excitedly, that's Stan the credit frog, or at least they knew who you were? So I've never had that happen before, which is fine because, I try to keep personal and business separate. But I have had a lot of that happen in airport lounges or just word around the airport. People have noticed me and said hi to me, which is, by the way, I love that. So if you ever see me, walking in the airport or sitting down in a lounge, like shoving food in my face, just, don't feel problematic to bother me because I really like talking to you guys and getting to know you guys and seeing you. Sometimes some guys come in and want to take pictures, so I'm all about that. So just go ahead and, if you see me, just say hi. I'm hopefully pretty friendly. I may look not friendly because like when I'm in the airport, I'm rushing places or I'm trying to like get as much as possible out of my lounge time. But I'll always, put my fork down or stop by to say hi to someone that knows me from YouTube. So thank you for that, QC man. Appreciate it. Okay. So let's go back to our presentation here. So the next section I wanted to talk about is the credit card challenge that was issued by, I believe it was Jared T. And so basically this was one that was emailed to me about a couple weeks ago. And so I wanted to cover it because I think it's interesting. It brings up a lot of interesting dynamics that I'm actually not as familiar with. So maybe you guys in the comments can help me with it because it has to do with kind of a travel focused setup. And so the challenge is very, very basic. Basically it says build a credit card setup focusing on Asia miles. And so the way we're going to do that is identify which banks transfer to Asia miles, because that's the most important thing first, because we got to know what we're working with before we actually get to where we're going. The second is going to be any special exceptions, right? The third is going to be to build the actual setup itself. And then the fourth thing we'll do is talk about the Amex cards and kind of how they play a role in this too. So to get started, let's identify which banks transfer to Asia Miles first. And you can see that Cathay Pacific is the airline that has Asia Miles. It's based out of Hong Kong, and it's a founding One World partner. And that's important to know because, personally, I've actually used Cathay Pacific Asia Miles to book airlines like Japan Airlines, which has one of those airlines I use for my honeymoon redemption, which has been really nice. And the good thing about doing it that way is you spend a lot less miles for the same flight as if you would book it through the actual JL miles. So for this particular scenario, you can see that Asia Miles transfers from American Express, Bilt, Capital One, and Citi. And so those are the 4 issuers that earn Asia Miles directly from those particular bank issuers. And what I want to mention also, though, is that because of the way that Avios is set up, you can actually also use Avios to book Cathay Pacific, but you can't mix these Avios with Asia Miles. And so I say that because when you look at the One World Alliance, so British Airways, for example, you can see that you can book British Airways miles from a bunch of different partners: American Express, Bilt, Capital One, Chase, and Wells Fargo. And you can use that as a way to go, but you can't use Avios miles to combine with Asia Miles and then book the flight. You have to use one system versus the other. So just want to point that out so you know about that. This is a very helpful table that I had to create just for this particular question, by the way. I did actually create another handout that you can see at cfrog.co/store. I made a very easy PDF where you can really easily see which transfer partners go to which bank, if it's a 4-bank, 5-bank, or 6-bank transfer partner. And so I think it's a really helpful handout if you're looking to see, if I have a multi-bank credit card setup, which transfer partners go from which bank and how can I combine them all together. So that's actually something to look at. So if you're interested, just check it out. Again, cfrog.co/store. We're going to have some more handouts going on in that store relatively soon, but this is one of those tables from that particular handout. So basically, when we build a setup, we can see that we have American Express, Bilt, Capital One, and Citi, right? So if you look at that, you're using Asia Miles. So the idea is if you build a setup, you would probably want to choose cards with no foreign transaction fees because you're probably using these miles to book Cathay Pacific. So as we're traveling abroad, we would like to avoid Amex cards altogether. So I'm sure all of you know that when you go abroad, American Express says they're accepted in many different places, but unfortunately they're not. And so I try personally not to take my American Express cards with me on international trips. And so I would take that out for now. But that does leave us with Bilt, Capital One, and Citi. So Ian says you can actually do 60K on AA, is a little more on AS, I believe Alaska, 102 on Cathay. I don't know what that's referring to. Here it is. Sorry. Ian M says the advantage of booking JAL versus Cathay is that it is available a lot of days out of the year versus most other partners that get them at 330. Rates are half the price of other partners, but much easier to get with Asia Miles. Oh, thank you for letting us know that. So that's important to know too. So of course, there's going to be ways to book things a lot easier with AA or AS. I believe that's Alaska. But again, the availability may not be what you want. So that's really important too. And so moving forward, we're building the setup. And so you can see that for Bilt, I still think that it's still worth it to get for the setup in its existing form, because you do have a card that's no annual fee and you get that 1x on the mortgage and rent. I don't know how they're going to change the card. And I know that we also talked about that in another video, I think in the last, in one of my videos previously. But in its existing form, getting that 1x on mortgage rent is still worth it. And so I think getting that card is pretty important. The next thing is going to be the question between Capital One and Citi, because those are direct transfer partners. And so you could do the Citi trifecta, which has some foreign transaction fees, or you could do the Capital One duo, which is no foreign transaction fees. And so when you look at those two dynamics, you can see that the Capital One duo is probably going to be a little bit better because you have access to those no foreign transaction fee cards, and you have a pretty good setup to start out with. It is a bit of a higher annual fee, but because of the way that the cards are structured, you have that luxury travel credit card, which is also pretty helpful too. So if you combine the two, though, you kind of get the best of both worlds. So you can see how the Venture X has all those great multipliers, plus that 2x catch-all category and everything else, as well as the lounge access, party pass, and travel insurances. You also have the Capital One Saver card with having the food situation with 3x at grocery, 3x at dining, and 3x entertainment and popular streaming services. And then you have the City Custom Cash for like another 5x for a top spend category. So I would combine the two of them together, and that may be the better way to go. So one thing I wanted to ask you guys as well is the City Rewards Plus card. So this card is interesting because you get 10% points back when you redeem up to the first 100,000 points redeemed per year. And that's important because I believe, and I've tried to read up on this, when you transfer the city points, thank you points, out to transfer partners, you should also get a 10% points back redemption. Can anyone confirm this on the comments? Because I think the answer is yes, that's actually what happens, but I'm not entirely sure if that's true or not. And so if you know about that, you have the Rewards Plus card, let me know. It looks like J. Rome says yes, that is what happens when you transfer city thank you points out to transfer partners. You get 10% boost back. Cesar Joel says yes as well. Thank you for that. So yes, so that is another way to make it better. Yuri G says yes. Okay, so we're all good. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't saying something that was incorrect. So having said all that, this is actually what I think the setup should be to maximize for Asia Miles specifically, just knowing what we know. So the Capital One Venture X will get you those premium lounge access, the Priority Pass membership, as well as all those multipliers that could be helpful for getting those Asia Miles, the 10x on Capital One hotels and rental cards, 5x on Capital One travel flights, and 2x everything else. You have the Capital One Saver for all those other food purchases. You have the City Custom Cash for 5x on gas, the built with the 1x on rent and mortgage, and you have that City Rewards Plus not for spending, but for the benefit for when you transfer those miles to Asia Miles, you get a 10% redemption bonus too, which is good. I think that's a great core credit card setup to have. You have a specialty card, you have a main card, and you have a catch-all credit card, which is really, really good. So the thing with that is that we did not talk about American Express for this, which is important. So if you think about that, we want to talk about the welcome offers too. So we didn't mention the City Star Premier, which would be a good addition to this setup to transfer those City Custom Cash points to it. So you will eventually need that. So I think that's what you're referring to, Calder. So you can get this card too, and then you have that 75,000 points welcome offer to also transfer to the to Asia Miles too. And it also has some good welcome offer, or so it has good multipliers on it too. So that would be a good addition to what you already have. Maybe even a better main card for City Asia or those Asia Miles too. But going to the Amex cards, again, I don't know if I would keep them in the main setup. Like you could use like the gold card, for example, for the 4X instead of the 3X. We did talk about the difference between the Capital and Saver one and the gold card dichotomy in terms of what makes it better, what makes it worse. But I would just use these cards in the latter format to get welcome offers, to then have those MR points to then transfer to Asia Miles when you want to in the future. And so I would go green, then gold, then platinum, and then you have the business side as well with the Blue Business Plus, Business Gold, and Business Platinum. Those, of course, have higher min spend requirements, but have a lot higher welcome offers that you could really get a lot of points very, very quickly to make that redemption that you want. And so that's actually what I would do for this particular setup. Again, hopefully you guys enjoyed that challenge. It's one of those things I'm working on to make it better for you guys, and maybe if there was more like criteria, it'd be more challenging. But if you have any ideas for a future challenge, definitely let me know. You can email me at stan@thecreditfrog.com, or you can go to my website at cfrog.co/contact, and I'm happy to field those credit card challenges, and then we can all kind of learn from that and see what the next things would be in terms of if there's a way to make that credit card strategy better. The first strategy, the last live stream, I got a lot of good feedback on that. A lot of people had different opinions about what was going on, so I really appreciated all that, and I think we all learned from that conversation. So I'm going to move this out of the way for a second and see if there's any comments about that particular setup. Let's see. J Room says, I used to keep in Rewards Plus, but wasn't redeeming enough points per year to outweigh having another custom cash to earn with. That's good to know. By the way, did you product change that Rewards Plus to the custom cash? I think that's what is implied in this statement, but I just want to make sure and confirm that. Saber says, I have around 740 credit score and 7.5K limit overall. I applied for Saver and got approved with $1,000 US. Is that what Capital One usually gives? Yeah, Capital One is typically very stingy with credit limits, and so that's not unheard of. So hopefully you can get that higher in like the future, but sometimes they do something called they bucket you, where they just leave you in this purgatory where you're always getting low credit limit cards. So hopefully you get higher, but unfortunately, Capital One is really known for that. Yuri says 30K thank you points per year is more than 10,000 thank you points. So that's probably just something I wasn't looking at in the conversation. Matt Clausen says Amex launching a consumer 2X card would make them a better option, especially with Rakuten. That's true. They would certainly benefit from that for sure. They just have the Blue Business Plus right now, which is fine, but it's not available to everyone as a business card. So I shouldn't say that. It is available to everyone, but some people don't want to use business cards, which I totally get. J Room says yes. Okay, good. Just to confirm that. He says his last Capital One card had a 20K limit. The first one was over 500. So that is good that they actually gave you a higher credit limit card. So there is hope. That's very good to hear. Okay. Kirby G says just wait like 4 to 6 months, or wait like 4 to 6 months and ask for a credit limit increase. Capital One can be finicky. Yep, that's for sure. And then Saber says, is there any credit score limit or requirement to apply for Venture X? I don't think there's a limit requirement. I think it's just you apply for it, and there's been data points of people with very high credit scores being denied and like a little bit lower credit scores getting approved. So there really is no rhyme or reason. If you want to shoot your shot, just do it and then see what happens. Okay, so we'll keep going here onto the thing here. So by the way, I just want to advertise, I do have a new newsletter called Pawn Pointers. It's been going on for about 3 weeks now, and so I've got a lot of good feedback from you guys. Like I mentioned earlier in the live stream, I am starting this new series called Walks with Stan the Credit Frog. I just released my first one to my members yesterday, and it'll be going out in the newsletter this Tuesday. Basically, the newsletter is just a way for me to connect with you further. I talk about special deals in there, as well as a recap of the weekly video I put out. I also will be adding into that newsletter this Walks with Stan, where I just talk about for 1 to 3 minutes about whatever's on my mind about credit cards. And so it's very unedited, very natural, very just like walking around outside, trying to get my steps in, and hopefully that'll give you a lot more value, just with more content. And so that'll go out with the newsletter. If you want to join the newsletter, that's the link to join the newsletter. And if you want to get the Walks with Stan videos at least a couple days earlier, the membership is always open for new members. Okay. And Matt asks, hey, Stan, when can we see Walks with Stan if we are new members? Do they show on your channel? So they do not. They're actually on community posts that link to another YouTube channel where there's a video there that is unlisted. And that's how I do my members-only videos. So if you check your my posts, you should see a members-only post on my channel, and that will link to the video that you can see. Okay, so let's see here. So the next section is all about credit card setups, and they're from questions that you guys asked me about. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our first question about credit card setups, which is from IVC. I apologize for the smaller text here. She asked, hi Stan, I'm currently holding the Capital One Venture X and Amex Gold, but considering to cancel my Gold to replace it with the Capital One Saver to lower the annual fee. But she's also thinking about, instead of the Saver, should she get the City Star Premier and the Custom Cash with similar but a better multiplier because it's 5x. She feels there's a lot of similarities between Capital One and City's transfer partners. Also, is it possible to get more than one City Custom Cash cards, and how hard is it to be approved for 2 cards from City, as she's 26, 312, 424. Thank you. Okay, so we'll answer the last questions first, and that's why I kind of wanted to ask you, J. Rowe, about that product change thing, because there have been multiple data points for people with multiple Citi Custom Cash cards, including people in this particular live stream already. And so I don't think you're able to apply for more than one Citi Custom Cash cards like as an application, but I think that there's been a lot of data points that show that if you have another Citi card like the Rewards Plus or the Startup Premier, you can actually product change that card into a custom cash card, and that usually goes off without a problem. So that's good. I answered your first question. So in regards to your 524 status, like that's not really a thing with Capital One or Citi, but I would say that just in general, I would say approvals are hard to predict for anybody, but Capital One seems to be more strict than Citi when it comes to new accounts and new inquiries. And so Yuri says he's never applied for the Citi Custom Cash, which is cool. I mean, that means you can get it just right off the bat with product changes. Joel says he has 5 of them by product changes, and Yuri has like 10. Yes, you guys have tons of Citi Custom Cash cards, so that's really great to hear that you're getting massive value from those 5X category cards. And then let's see here. Yuri also is in the mood to convert to another Citi Custom Cash, so there's that. So J. Rome says low inquiries for Citi Premier, no more than 1 of 6. So yeah, they're both, in terms of new accounts inquiries, they're both about the same in terms of getting approved for them. I just have seen more data points where Capital One is more stringent on those new accounts, but they're both stringent on new accounts. So with that in mind, the question you have mainly is, should you get the Amex Gold versus the Capital One Saver? And so we talked about this earlier on the live stream, how the gold card is good for a certain person that spends a lot of money in the food category. But I would argue that for most people, the Capital One Saver card is a better all-around card because it has no annual fee and no hoops to jump through with statement credits and none of that annual fee jazz. You still get a lot of good multipliers from them. They're still a transfer partner, so you can get those points for transferring out. So that would be what I would prefer first for you. But because of the fact that Capital One is a little bit more stringent on that, I would say if you were to choose the Citi cards or the Capital One cards, I would actually get the Capital One first, because that way you already have that card on your belt, and you can use the pre-approval tool to see if it'll help you or be helpful for you. And then after you do that, you can get the Citi cards next. You may have to wait a little bit because you are still, I believe it was, what was the number there? You were 2 of 6, so maybe wait till like you're 0 to 1 of 6 before applying, and then that would be probably more helpful to get approved for the card. I would also say that having both the Capital One and the Citi cards are good. So you don't have to just end with just the Capital One cards. It could be the Capital One cards and the Citi cards at the same time, because even though they're both separate types of setups, having both is great. And what's nice is if you have both of them, you can kind of choose which one you think is better for you and then use that one in general moving forward. But again, there's no harm, no foul with the Citi Startup Premier. Like, Yuri said, or everyone on this live stream said, if you feel that the Startup Premier is no longer worth it to you, you don't want to use the transfer partners anymore, you can always get another Citi Custom Cash. Never have enough Citi Custom Cashes, right? So Kirby G also recommends that. Definitely get the Saver first, or the better. I totally agree with that. QC Man is here, says, yeah, Citi seems pretty liberal with product changes. It seems like only the Costco and long period 0% APR card are the only ones that don't get easily changed. Yuri says, Citi called me to approve for the second Premier card just to move credit limit for another card. So Yuri's making some big Citi moves already. Texas Dog says, Citi Custom Cash is my gas card. It's a great gas card to have because most people don't spend more than $500 in purchases in gas in a month. So this is a great card to have that available. So great. So I think that answers that question there. So the next one comes from Tanner. I apologize for the length of this one, but it's pretty simple. He says, I'm looking forward to the stream. I was wondering if you had any insights into what would be the best travel credit card for travel to Europe in regard to things like transfer partners, benefits, statuses, and protections. I've done a lot of domestic travel, but I will start traveling internationally more often. I'm not concerned too much about annual fees, and I'm willing to jump into any strategy as I don't have any particular trifecta or combination of cards at the moment. I have the built card for rent and dining travel and no foreign transaction fees, but I want to make a more effective strategy based around a premium card to maximize my travel experience. I'm new to the credit card community, but I have enjoyed watching your videos and appreciate your hard work in making helpful and honest content. Well, thank you, Tanner. I appreciate that. And of course, welcome to the wonderful world of credit cards and credit card travel. We're really welcoming here in the community. So if you guys have any comments for Tanner, that would be helpful because I personally have never redeemed points or miles to Europe. So I don't have a good answer to that particular question, but I will try to answer it to the best of my ability. So the first question is, when you're first starting out, what things should you decide, or what criteria should you use to decide to make a decision? Well, you mentioned a few of them: transfer partners, travel insurances, and welcome offers. So the first thing is you wanted to figure out what premium card should I start out with for my next travel adventures. And so there's only 3 that we know of that are kind of fit that category. That's going to be the Clears, Amex Platinum, Chase Sapphire Reserve, Capital Adventure X, right? And so in your situation, these are what relevant for you. So they all have an annual fee. Obviously, the Platinum has the highest, Sapphire Reserve is second highest, and the Capital Adventure X is third highest. There are statement credits to make them better, but we're not going to cover those today. The American Express card has Centurion Lounge access. The Sapphire Reserve has Sapphire Lounge access, and the Capital Adventure X has Capital One Lounge access, obviously. So that will help determine if you travel domestically, can you get benefit from this card with one of these lounge things? Because that will be one way to think about it. So what's your home airport? Where are you traveling from? Where do you travel to frequently domestically? That's all questions to ask. The second thing is going to be you also have Priority Pass, right? So each one of these cards have Priority Pass, and they all have pretty much the same versions of them. Obviously, the Sapphire one can get you into Sapphire Lounge, but for the most part, they don't really include airport restaurants anymore. So they're pretty much all the same. The third thing is travel insurances. And so, for the most part, we had talked about this in the last live stream, but I would say that the Platinum and the Sapphire Reserve have the best travel insurances. Capital Adventure X also has good ones too, but they're not as good, but they're still good enough for most people. And so because of all of that, it's really a matter of choosing which one would be the best for you in your area. And because you are just starting out, I'm always going to be an advocate of doing the one that is the lowest annual fee first, so you get a feel for things before you jump into those higher annual fee cards. And so if you look at that, this is the Venture X, and you can see the annual fee is $395. It does have that 2X catch-all category, which is great because if you do plan on traveling more internationally, this is a very popular card to take abroad, to go ahead and use that card for any purchase and still get 2X miles back with no foreign transaction fees. These are also the partners that are on the Capital One, from Capital One. By the way, this is from my website, so it's like a simple table that shows the ratios as well as the partners. But you can see that if you look for Europe specifically, there is Air France KLM, there's British Airways, Emirates and Etihad, Finnair, TAP Portugal, and Turkish. And so you can see that there are a lot of options for European airlines and non-European airlines to travel to Europe that have pretty good routes there. So that's something that you could use with Capital One with this Venture X. So definitely, if you go the Venture X route, there are very good options for that. In terms of getting travel to Europe. The actual minutia about that is not the scope of this video or this live stream, but that's the transfer partners that are available. And then you also have the recommendations of what I recommend is that to get the Capital One Venture X first, and then get the Capital One Saver card on top of that, because now you have that Capital One Duo that's very powerful for international travel. No foreign transaction fees, and you have a good dining card, grocery card, and you also have a good catch-all credit card, and that covers a lot of the things that you would probably end up doing overseas. You also can think about the welcome offers for other cards too. So even though you're focusing on that luxury card of being the Capital One Venture X, you can look at that transfer partner table like we looked at before and see which one of these transfer partners also can be transferred from a different bank, and then focus on welcome offers from those banks' cards to get more points and then transfer them directly to that transfer partner to kind of combine points together. And so this is what I recommend for that. Again, one of the things you see on this chart is that there is British Airways here, which is a really popular, obvious transfer partner. And so you can see that, again, with this table, British Airways covers a lot of different issuers, everything except for Citi, basically. And so if you get a Capital One card for your setup, you could also get all the other cards for welcome offers. I guess not for Bilt, but for Amex, Chase, and Wells Fargo, you can get those welcome offers, transfer them to British Airways, and then you can always use that if that's going to be your preferred airline partner or transfer partner for your European vacation. Okay. So there was that question. I think I'm missing a lot of the chat here in the bottom. Hopefully that's helpful to you. I'll get to the chat in one moment here. I do want to move forward here on the next question for credit card setups, which is, Stan, what would be some core credit card setups you suggest with a Wells Fargo trifecta in progress? I have the Active Cash as my forever card, the Alaska card as a travel card, and the Attune as my most recent card. Okay, great. Oh, by the way, Tanner's already here. Tanner says, thanks, Stan. That was very helpful. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad that was helpful for you, and thank you so much for asking the question. So in terms of Mr. L's question, he has a Wells Fargo trifecta in progress, and so this is what his setup looks like right now. So essentially he has the Alaska card, which I would argue is more of a benefits card because he has that. It's not really a great spending card unless you're spending on Alaska, but you do get a lot of good airline-specific benefits, so there's that. And so he has that. But he also has the Active Cash, which is a good no annual fee catch-all credit card with 2x cashback, 2x on everything else, excuse me. And the Attune card, which has these weird categories that cover more esoteric things that you wouldn't think of. Like they say it's self-care, sports, recreation, entertainment, as well as the 4x in impactful purchases. Now, the sports, recreational, and entertainment, it does have a transit and EV charging type of category, but it's not really all-encompassing of transit, so I wouldn't really consider that to be a real transit category card. So when we think about the Wells Fargo trifecta, this is kind of what you're looking at. And so because of that, you have the autograph card, which is the main card that ties all together, but because you have restaurants, gas and transit covered on that card, that covers a lot of those main categories, but you're still going to miss a few things. So this is your Wells Fargo focus setup with your Attune card, autograph card, and your Wells Fargo Active Cash card. But you're missing things. You're going to miss things like groceries is a big one I can see already. You're missing travel, although you could say that the Alaska card is your travel card because you're flying with Alaska. But then what about things like hotels? And so those are the things you want to look for when you build your Wells Fargo focused setup, because you're going to have some gaps in not only in multiplier categories, but also in things you do for travel. And so the question is, what's another good grocery card to consider? And so these are the three that I put on the slide here, but obviously the Citi Custom Cash card is the big one. Everyone loves that card, and it's definitely something popular down in the chat here. But it's got that 5x on grocery for $500 per cycle. You have, my favorite, which is the PayPal Debit MasterCard, which is 5% grocery at $1,000 per cycle. Again, also includes Target, Walmart, and Costco. And then you have the AAA Daily Advantage Signature Card, gets you 5% cashback on groceries up to $10,000 per year. And so those are three options you can combine with your autograph or with your Wells Fargo setup to help get you the grocery category as well. You also have things like the Citi Star Premier card that could give you some boost in terms of for the travel aspect. It has, I think, 3x on airlines and hotels, so that could be helpful. It also would help unlock those transfer partners if you had the Citi Custom Cash, so that's also good too. Also, don't forget that there's that Alaska Premium card coming out later this year, I think in the next 3 months or so. And so I think we're all looking forward to seeing what that card's going to look like. So that's going to be a really, really good card to see too. So that would be the next step for me for that. And so that kind of leads us into the next section here, which I do want to spend a little bit of time on because it is something that may be something that a lot of you guys are thinking about, especially with these new changes with Southwest. And so I did put out a community post earlier this week about the major changes, but what was interesting is that they changed it and it was without any kind of announcement or any kind of warning. It was just like, this is what's going to happen. They hate me actually asked a question about this. Thoughts on the Southwest credit cards moving forward based on latest company updates. With the credit cards, I don't quite know yet because nothing has been really announced, although there's some additional information towards we'll get into in a little bit. But the credit cards are good for those free check bags, and that's going to be what they're mainly used for, kind of like the other airline credit cards too. But like I said, there was an announcement back in 2024 in September, and I got this email, and I'm sure a lot of you guys did too. And I apologize that it's a little bit smaller text. So basically, it's Bob Jordan here with this video. And basically, he says, bags fly free is here to stay. And so we were all thankful that even though they were announcing that the seating arrangements and seating is going to change in terms of having choose your own seats versus assigned seating, at least their core offering, which is the bags fly free, was going to stay. But then fast forwarded to last Tuesday on March 11th, when they actually said that they are now going to do something different with their check bags. And so basically what they're doing is they're offering 2 free check bags only to A-List Preferred and business members, 1 check bag for A-List and then credit card holders. Of course, with the credit card holders, it's going to be a thing where they charge you up front, then they refund you back again afterwards, which I think is really annoying. I guess it's good for the credit card company because they get both of those like transaction fees on both the charge and the refund. So that's kind of annoying for us, but I guess good for them. And so that's how that would go. And then they have everyone else paying for their own check bags. And so basically what they're saying is that this is over in the next couple months or so. And so they released the chart. This is a abridged version of the chart, which is fine because I think this is the part of the chart that's only what's that important. So we have the top part, which is kind of the main issue here, which is what I mentioned before. We also want to note that the wanna get away fare on the top right is gone. It's now just a basic fare. And so that is another change that I think is unfortunate. You can see that underneath check bags, the rapid rewards points, it's actually, they'll change those points too. So the wanna get away plus fare point earnings is now the same as it used to be with wanna get away. So wanna get away used to be 6x. Now wanna get away plus is 6x, but basic is 2x. So basically shunting you towards that wanna get away plus situation, which is unfortunate too. So the baggage policies are important to note because these are only effective for reservations booked or changed on or after May 28th, 2025. So while you're kind of doing your bookings now, if you're going to book something for like Hawaii in October, for example, that would still carry with the 2 free bags policy. So as long as you don't change or modify that flight on or after May 28th, 2025, you can still get 2 free check bags. So just keep that in mind because you have, some time to go ahead and get that to be better and not have to deal with those baggage fees. Again, A-List Preferred, Biz Select, 2 free check bags. A-List is 1 free check bag, as well as Rapid Rewards credit card members, as well as pricing of each check bag is unknown, which is weird because you'd think that if they make changes as big and sweeping as these, they would know what the pricing of the bags would be, but they don't. And so they'll tell us that in the next coming weeks, which is very, very interesting. What's the points is here in the house? Southwest, more like South won't, am I right? Exactly. It's just, if you could choose a different airline, I would just do that. But, some of us, like myself, we're kind of forced on Southwest because there's no other alternative. So we just have to stick with it and just hope for the best. Texas also comes in and says, I remember when friends flew free on Southwest. Those are the good old days. I don't remember that, but there's a companion pass that's kind of the same. You got to work for it, but it's, that would be really cool if they had a friends fly free situation. The second part of this is that, the tier credit card and companion pass benefits, they apply on up to 8 additional passengers on the same itinerary. That's another thing that they put up on their website on the FAQ section, is that if you are an A-List Preferred member, for example, so you get 2 free check bags, and then you have 8 friends that you also book on the same itinerary, they will also get 2 free check bags, every single one of them. So that's nice. That's kind of what the other airlines do too. It's consistent across the industry, but it's just good to know that that's the number that they have set out. Same thing if you have a credit card in your Rapid Rewards credit card holder and you book a flight, you get 1 free check bag. But what will happen is that you will pay for that up at the counter for all the check bags, and then they will refund everybody all their checked bags on the credit card. You don't have to use the Southwest card to do this. You can use any credit card you want. It's just one of those things where you have to pay first. And also, by the way, if you're A-list preferred and you have 8 friends with 2 free checked bags, you as the A-list preferred member won't pay for checked bags, but your companions or your itinerary people will have to pay for checked bags up front, and then they'll refund the credit card that was used for all those bags. So that's a lot of money. So if you have, like, for example, if it's $35, we'll just use 40 for math reasons. If it's $40 per checked bag and you have 8 friends, that's $320 on your credit card that will eventually get reimbursed, but you got to put up that money up front first. So it's not a great system. I hope they change it to be not as annoying as that, but that's kind of what's happening. So I'm glad they have that option. But again, if you do that like per flight and there's 2 checked bags, like the numbers add up very, very quickly. And so just keep that in mind. And that's the whole thing that's going to happen after May 28th. Yuri G says, the love is gone. The love has gone away. The love is gone, baby. The love has gone away. And then he says, BB King. I don't know if I sang that right. I'm a really bad singer, by the way, so I don't want to try. But yes, the love is definitely gone. That's unfortunately where we're at this point. So again, additional passengers must pay up front with any credit card, and the fee will be refunded. So that kind of brings us to the bottom portion here, because this is another problem that is with Southwest Airlines, especially if those of you are like me who book many different flights all at once. The flight credit thing is a huge deal, because the no expiration is great, not only for, when you want to change your fare, but also if you want to cancel or whatever, you'll always have that money to use. Obviously, some of us also use, the platinum credit for various reasons, and that also affects that as well. But essentially, the 6 months on the basic is very, very restrictive, because not only does that basic fare not give you a flight credit, it's also doesn't give you any other benefits. And so Yuri asked, will the basic award tickets continue to be refundable? And so the answer, if you look at this chart, is no, it's not refundable, but there's like an asterisk next to that. It's not really refundable, but there's a way to use it. So what we'll do is we'll look at the basic fare specifically. So as we saw in the chart over here, the basic fares are non-changeable, non-refundable, and non-transferable, but the one thing they can do is be canceled, right? So you can see on the chart on the right column here, the one green check mark you get in basic is cancellation. So you can cancel it. You should. There's no way they cannot not do that. That would be against some kind of consumer protection or something like that. But essentially, the result, if you can cancel the flight on basic, that results in that flight credit that we talked about from before. Now, it's a 6-month expiration date, which is very hard to deal with, but you still get a flight credit to apply to another Southwest flight. And so that's why we want to kind of look into this more further, because for business travelers, the biggest issue is you can't really change your flight. So if you want to, if you look at a flight and you see something cheaper, you want to change to it, you can't do that with basic fares anymore. But because of this cancellation situation, there's kind of a workaround to that. And so let me explain to what that is. So these are what flight changes look like. This happens all the time. So you book a flight, they're like, oh, we have this sale going on. You press change flight, and then you look at the pricing chart, and you can see that your current flight looks like this, but then other flights that may not be your preferred time, but other flights are cheaper, or they could be more expensive. And so before, it'd be very easy to change the flights, get the flight credit that did not expire at all. So there's that. But now that there's going to be flight credit expiration dates, you have to think about it critically. Kind of, when did you book the flight? Has it been 12 months or whatever? I think that would be something to think about too. So that's how the flight changes worked before. What you have to do now with basic fares is you can actually do a cancel rebook situation. So instead of going to change fare, you can cancel the flight. And what's nice about Southwest is that before you cancel, like they should, you press cancel, and they'll tell you the amount of funds that your previous flight was on, right? And so that's exactly what that is. When you look at those funds, it's like $169.48. But if you want to rebook that flight, you can see that the departing flights are cheaper. And so that way you can actually rebook the flight with the fund that you got from the canceled flight. And so that's exactly how you would do that instead with basic economy flights. It's annoying. It's not. It's kind of more of a workaround, but it's something that is just not great to do, unfortunately. And so that's how you would do that if you want to continue using basic fares and want to change your flight. You can't change it, but you can cancel and rebook a flight, which is technically the same as changing, but it's just more annoying to do. And so that it would be the process of doing that itself. So some of the issues with this is that, when you look at the way Southwest opens their flights, they actually open their flights for a long period of time. So right now, the reservations are open through November 1st. I think they opened that around early February sometime. So you had about like a 9-month window to book flights. And so some people, like myself, will book flights all the way out till November 1st. But if you book it on basic economy, now you only have 6 months to use that flight credit. If you book it in February, even if you like rebooked in like October, that flight credit wouldn't even work anymore. So that's a huge problem. But you can also see that, like I said before, it's not a very flexible situation with this basic fare. So a couple questions. It says, let's see here. Rodrigo Mendez says, will you still be flying with Southwest, Stan? Unfortunately, yes, I will be. I have to because the routes I fly are only on Southwest. And like I said before, it's because they have multiple versions of flights that are nonstop. There are some airlines that do fly my route, but the thing is that they only have like one flight on a certain day, or it's not convenient for when I'm flying. And so that would be the reason why I'm sticking with Southwest. Otherwise, if there was another option, I would totally do the other option for sure. And Texas Dog says, Stan, since Southwest is moving away from the budget model, do you think Southwest will try to build lounges? That's a very good question. I don't know if they have any lounge plans. I don't know how they're going to enter the lounge market because it's so competitive already with not only airlines having their own lounges, but also the banks too. And so because banks have their own lounges and airlines, it's like, how much space is there for lounges at this point, right? And so having a Southwest dedicated lounge is something that's interesting, which would be nice if they would to try, but I'm curious about how they would effectively do that. And so anyways, that's kind of the what's going on with Southwest now. I think the silver lining with all of this is that for tickets purchased on or before May 27th, 2025, and not change or exchange after that date, your flight credit or your transferable flight credit will not expire, right? And so if you want to do any kind of movements with your flights, I would just make sure that you do it before that May 27th date so that you have those flight credits to use in a non-expirable fashion. Which kind of brings me to my take-home points to all of this, which is I think it's important to book or modify your Southwest trips on or before Tuesday, May 27th, just so that you have those benefits where you have those free check bags and you also have flight credits that you can use that don't expire. Otherwise, after that date, you will have those things happen, and then you'll be part of that new transitionary period where you have to pay your check bags and you have to have flight credits. If you're flying basic economy, you can still cancel and rebook using flight credits. So we kind of talked about that earlier on in previous few slides. You can cancel and rebook basic economy flights like you have before. It's changing, but it's not really changing. It's just canceling and rebooking. Want to Get Away Plus is the new Want to Get Away fare class. And so if you want the similar types of benefits from before, except with the check bag situation, then you're going to want to book Want to Get Away Plus. Unfortunately, if I had a choice, I would love to choose a different airline because there's nothing that Southwest does that the legacy carriers can't do. Because Southwest's big, USP or unique selling proposition was those bags fly free. But now that they are a Greyhound bus, but they are like the legacy airlines, but they don't have lounges and they don't have first class seats. They have better seats. They're having better seats, but it's not like the other airlines, and you can't fly, to many international destinations too. I'd rather build my loyalty or build somewhere else on a different legacy carrier because Southwest doesn't distinguish itself as much anymore from those big three, American Airlines, Delta, United, those types of airlines. All right, so let's see. Dalton asks, I wonder if Southwest would team up with Bank of America and create a Bank of America lounge network and similar to Amex and Delta allow you in with a high tier Southwest or Bank of America card with a specific ticket. That'd be interesting. An interesting partnership. I know Chase already has Southwest, so that would be probably hard to do. But yeah, I mean, that would be nice if they had the lounges to do that. I don't know if they'll have them anytime soon. As you can see with the other lounge networks, it takes years and years and years for that to build up. And so I would not even expect to see a Southwest lounge in the next 2 to 3 years. That's like if they started like today. So there's a lot going on, but it would also be nice for Bank of America to have a lounge situation, but they do have that Premium Rewards Elite card with Priority Pass that should also, by the way, still include Priority Pass restaurants, although I haven't tried that recently. So there's that. And Dalton says it could also be a way for Bank of America to start pushing some of their more premium products. That's for sure. Okay. So moving right along here, this is actually what I see Southwest in at this point. So Southwest is in this middle purgatory region where they want to go up into the American Airlines Delta United area, but they also have the chance to move down to the Allegiant Frontier Spirit area. And so it's kind of up to them to see where they want to go. But personally for me, I think they're going in one individual direction. So with that being said, I do have this final poll here. So I want to know what your thoughts on this are as well in terms of what direction do you think Southwest is headed based on that last slide? And so I'm going to put up the banner here so you have the code. If you haven't joined already, that's how you're going to go ahead and find that particular question. Go ahead and press the like button there to make sure that I know that you're there. Again, question is, which direction do you think Southwest is headed? And so we're going to start the polling here in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Okay, so are they going in the way of Allegiant, Frontier, and Spirit, or are they going in the way of American, United, and Delta? And so, they're starting to nickel and dime. And to be fair to Southwest, the other legacy carriers also nickel and dime with these baggage fees. But it just, for some reason, the feeling, like the people that fly Southwest, like myself, it just feels like they're being more like Allegiant, Frontier, and Spirit more than they're being like American, Delta, United. Again, it's hard because Southwest, they just can't compete with the lounge networks. They can't compete with the first class seats. They can only give you like economy plus type seating, unless they want to overhaul all of their planes. I really feel like they're more going towards the Allegiant, Frontier, Spirit direction. Which is fine. I mean, you just want to, call a cat. And so that's where I think they're headed, which is unfortunate because I really do like Southwest Airlines. Everyone, all the pilots, all the staff members, all the flight attendants have always been very nice. And it's not really, necessarily their fault. It's just, upper management and private equity that are making these decisions. And so that's kind of where we're at. And unfortunately, that means that it's less of a customer-focused airline. There's not really much love being shared anymore. It's more just a matter of how can we make our profits higher. We just happen to be a bank that flies planes. And so I think that's where we're headed, unfortunately, with Southwest. So I'll go ahead and stop the voting there. So it looks like most of you said that it's Allegiant, Frontier, Spirit, which I agree with. And then some of you say that's going towards American, Delta, and United. All right. And we got Texas Dog with a super chat. Stan is the Frogman. Thumbs up, folks. Thank you so much for the reminder, Texas Dog. If you were getting value from the stream, definitely hit the like button if you're getting value. It's about 15 minutes left. I do have a few more short questions to answer as well, and then hopefully some time for last-minute questions at the end as well, too. Let's see here. Vincent Pasquale says, my main use case for Southwest is for flights between non-hub cities like Las Vegas, Sacramento, and San Diego, when it would be cheaper and faster than with legacy carriers. Yeah, and that's actually the exact areas I fly to as well, Vincent. And so Southwest is very good for that. And so as long as I keep their rates and their fares low, I wouldn't mind flying them. I just have to know that, there's a baggage situation. Although for me, it wouldn't necessarily matter that much because I have status. But I know for a lot of people who don't have status, that's a big deal. And they also want to push you to get their credit cards, obviously. And so that free bag benefit is on there as a way for them to, convince you or entice you to get their credit cards too. Josh Ng says Southwest is going towards the legacy carriers, but all in the wrong ways. I totally agree with that. Yuri says WN is the world's fifth biggest airline. Is it the world's fifth biggest airline? I don't know if that's true or not, but it maybe the US's fifth biggest airline. Rodrigo says, do you have any predictions on the Southwest Pass? Do you think they'll mess with that? I think they will absolutely mess with that because they mess with the free check back things. They will 100% do something with the companion pass. Like in the email also, they talked about the companion pass, the one from September. They talked about not touching that either, but now everything's off the table. So I think they probably will. I don't know if they're going to change it for existing people, but probably for future people, they may actually change it. And so I'll keep an eye out for that for sure. But that's just the way the world is going, unfortunately. Texas Dog says, I'm concerned that WN is becoming a Spirit. Yes, I'm concerned about that too. Luckily, they don't, they are okay. It's just bag fees for now. It's not seat selection fees or anything like that. So hopefully not, but we'll see. Kirby G says, as someone who is a Delta fanboy, I've been shocked how Southwest hasn't been much cheaper lately. I fly to a small airports in Wisconsin. So my case is different than others. Yeah, I mean, Southwest has really raised their prices, although I did see a sale in early March after the point totals went away. Like the point earnings decreased. They actually discounted a lot of their flights, like a lot. So I think they wanted people to change at that time. I did change because I don't care about the points. I care about the price. But if you change your flight after I think it was March 4th or something, you now are a part of that new rewards tier system. So all of my 6X want to get away fares became 2X fares, but I was getting like $100 off each flight. And so I think that was still worth it. And so I did a lot of those changes, but I just noticed that when I was doing kind of like my, I would say monthly or semi-monthly Southwest change flight schedule, where I go in and I just check all my flights and make sure that everything is the cheapest it can possibly be with those flight credits. But again, that's going to change now that May 27th date is coming up. Aloha Danica says, hi Stan, do you think the recent Southwest changes is lining them up for a merger or sale? I don't know, but I know that private equity loves that kind of stuff, so I would not be surprised about that. Although I don't know if they're going to really do that because I don't know what they would sell or why they would sell. Okay. All right, so next section is this potpourri. So there's a few last minute questions here. First, it was from Surab R. He says, credit card strategy for people who can have only personal credit cards, no business cards. So, that's a very general question. It applies to a lot of people. Obviously, there's a lot of things you have to think about when you ask a question like as general as this. So some questions to think about is what's your credit history, what's your goal, cashback versus travel, and what are your highest spending categories. That is the way you can start to build that core credit card setup. And so for that particular question, I would just say build a core credit card setup, get welcome offers when you can, try for elevated ones when you can, and you can do steps 1 and 2 at the same time. So when you build your credit card setup, your core setup, just make sure to get those elevated welcome offers. And that's how I would go ahead with building that setup on a personal scale. That's just kind of the general thing, not knowing any other details about your individual situation. This next one is from Catch631. If you have no annual fee card that you don't plan on using anymore, not a personal fan of the bank, and only got it 4 years ago as a then employee of the bank, would you cancel it or leave it open until the bank potentially closed it for lack of activity? I was keeping it open to help with overall utilization and had a small monthly charge in it, but recently stopped the charge and not sure if it's worth keeping open. So it's essentially you have an old card, you're not using it anymore, should I cancel it? Is the crux of the question. And so the things to think about there are 3 things. Your utilization, your average age of accounts, and does it make your life simple, right? So starting from utilization, if this card has like 50 grand on it and you have a total limit of 100 grand, like you probably should either switch off the limit or keep it open because it's going to tank your score if you do that. So if it's not something that has a lot of limit comparative to your total, then that's fine. The second thing is how old is the card? If it's super old, that may be helpful. But the thing is, if you cancel the card and you've had positive history on it, it lasts for 10 years on your core report. So that's okay too. So, and also I misspelled average. I'm sorry about that. Average age of accounts. And the third thing is that if you really want to just get rid of that one card. Like if it's like a one card thing in one bank system and you just want to like not have that app on your phone and not deal with it anymore, then I would just say simplify that as well. So those are the three things I would think about. I actually have a story about that because I actually recently canceled my Barclay card Arrival World MasterCard, which was about 15 years old. So it was a pretty old card. But what had happened was I had that card for a long time at a 25K limit. And then about a year ago, they were like, we're going to cancel or lower your card to a 5K limit. And I said, that's kind of annoying, but I guess so, because I was just putting a $2.99 charge on that card per month. So I wasn't using it actively. But then like 4 months ago, they were like, actually, we're going to lower your credit limit to $2,000, $2,000 instead. And so at that point, I was like, this card is useless to me at this point. So I just canceled the card. So it depends on kind of what you're looking for. I personally think that if my card is just being axed and axed and axed, it's just let it go. It's fine. Catch actually is here. It says utilization would be fine without it. And the only card I have with them, thanks for asking my question, very helpful. Good. Awesome. So yeah, hopefully it sounds like you should just cancel it. Just make it easy. Just free up that brain space for something else. And then we have one question from Dalton, who hopefully is still here in the chat. Hey, Stan, a few weeks ago on March 1st, I used a little-known perk with Bank of America that refunds you on your Bank of America debit or credit card for the price of admission with partner museums they list on the first weekend of every month. Have you ever used this perk, and do you know of any other banks that offer little known benefits like this? So first of all, I don't know of any other benefits like that. It's a very cool benefit from Bank of America. If any of you guys in the chat know about that, just drop it down so we know. But what Dalton's referring to is this Bank of America Museums on Us benefit, where they have a list of museums, and on the first weekend of every month, you can use your Bank of America card to purchase that, and then they will refund that back onto your card, which I think is how it works. But you get a free general admission. I'm not even sure if they actually charge a card or not. But let's see here. I don't think it's clear. Dalton, if you're still here, let us know if you you were charged for the card or did it just give you a free admission. But in any case, it's a nice benefit to have, especially if you want to support the arts. And so that's definitely a great benefit to look into, especially if you're a Bank of America customer. All right. I believe that covers all the questions in the slide deck there. So I appreciate you guys sticking around for that. If you guys have any other last minute questions here, I'd be happy to field them. We have about 6 minutes until noon. And so I'd be happy to just land the plane strong and see what's going on here. Mike has a question saying, can you give me your thoughts on Daniel Sparks' video about the Chase Preferred Trifecta, US Bank Altitude Connect, and PayPal debit card? So I haven't seen that specific video, so I don't know about that particular setup, but just looking at it, if it's a Chase Preferred Trifecta, I'm guessing it's the Inc. Preferred, Chase Freedom Flex or equivalent, and then a Chase Freedom Unlimited, Altitude Connect probably for gas, and PayPal debit for groceries. I think it's a great setup. I mean, that's a $95 annual fee only. Yeah, I think that would be one way to go for sure. If you wanted to have a hybrid setup, that'd be great. It's a 5-card setup, gets all your major categories covered. If the debit card is set to groceries, it's perfect. Okay. Oh, Dalton's here. Dalton says they charge the card and the first business day it gets refunded. Okay, good to know. Now, unlike Southwest and baggage fees, like doing this is fine because the admission fee for the museum is not going to be as expensive as a bunch of baggage fees and all of your friends too. So, thank you, Dalton, for the question, and thank you for letting us know about that benefit. Hopefully, you enjoyed the stay at the visit to the museum. Okay. Soul NB says, do you think the Amex Blue Cash Preferred is worth using as opposed to a 3X card that hits similar categories? Or depends if I can make back the annual fee or not? I would say that the Blue Cash Preferred is always worth it the first year because it has that introductory $0 annual fee. I would say that what I would do is get the Blue Cash Preferred first, use it for the full year just because you can, and then reassess the first year. I likely would downgrade it to an Amex Blue Cash every day because that's still a good card. It's got the online purchases 3% category and some other good stuff on there. So that's what I would say for that particular card. I don't know if it'd be worth it to keep it for the $95 annual fee. I have a short from like 3 years ago that talks about that card versus the City Custom Cash, and I think the City Custom Cash is better just because it has no annual fee if you use it for groceries. But I get it if you want to use it for like streaming and groceries. So it's up to you. But I would say that definitely worth in the first year, questionable in the second year. Mr. L's here. Stan, thanks for the feedback on my question. Curious to hear your response for my response here. In terms of hotels, I don't care about elevated cashback from 3% once I get the autograph. Oh, okay. Well, then I think that the autograph is the way to go then. Yeah, I think that that's what I would do. You could get the Strata Premier if you wanted to, but if the autograph is something that you get, then you can just stick with that and just call it a day. Texas Dog says, Stan, does U.S. Bank text redemption only apply if you have enough to cover 100% of the charge? I believe the answer to that is yes, although I have to think about that because I don't remember. This was a question that came up a lot when the U.S. Bank Reserve was available. I believe you do have to have the whole amount in points before you can redeem those points. But I want to say it was Chad Pennycuff that told me that that's not true because he did it without that. So I have to just touch base with him real fast to make sure that that's the case. But Texas, I'll get back to you about that. But I would just say that yes, for now, yes, you probably need the whole points in the bank to do the redemption, even though you get that 50% redemption boost when you do the Tom rewards. And then Soul NB says, thanks for the feedback, Stan. Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Well, it looks like that's the end of the questions, so I'll probably just end it there. Again, thank you all so much for being here for this live stream, and I appreciate you all for sticking around this entire time. Please, if you don't mind, if you could hit the like button on the way out, if you're getting value, that would really help me out in terms of this video, reaching other people, and also let me know that you enjoyed the content. Again, I want to make sure that you guys get as much value as possible from these live streams, and I try to, make sure I cover all those community post questions as detailed as I can, but also make sure that, you guys in the live chat also get, your questions in too. Matt Frost coming in big with a $10 super spot. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate that. Great stuff as always, Stan. Have a good weekend, everyone. Go responsibly spend some money. Yes, thank you. We're all going to be doing that, I'm sure. Vincent Pasquale says, thank you, Stan. I appreciate that. Thank you, Vince, for being here. Tio is in the house. Thank you. Ian's here. Thanks, Stan. And Soul and B says, thanks. And oh my gosh, Ian just going hard. 9K Acosta. Ian, what kind of card do you use for that? Do you use the US bar? Do you use Smartly? Do you use PayPal debit card? Not debit card because that'd be too much. I'm just wondering. I don't know if you can leave it down in the chat. But yes, appreciate it. And Texas Dog is here. Thanks, Stan. Fino says, I'm team cashback looking to improve past 2%. Don't think I'll push enough spend on the card, just on Robinhood and on waitlist. Thinking aligned based on your vids. Thanks, man. Absolutely. Check that card out. It's a great one. And Aloha Danica says, thank you, Stan. Awesome stream today. Go Filmo. That's right. Filmo's coming up in about an hour. So looking forward to seeing that. And again, thank you guys so much for everything. And I really love talking about credit cards with you guys. And if anything I can do to help you guys out and give you a better experience, just let me know. And with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care, everyone.